In this episode, I'm going to work on an old Tandberg reel-to-reel. This is a stereo reel-to-reel vacuum tube amplifier, and it's got something kind of unique. It doesn't use AU meters. No, this one has magic eyes, tuning eyes for your record level. Pretty cool. I haven't seen one of these before. This one should be interesting. There, I have another suitcase to work on. This is a Tandberg stereo reel-to-reel machine. I've never seen one of these ones before, but I am looking forward to digging into it and seeing if it works, and if it doesn't, let's see if we can get it working. Check out the meters. Cool, huh? Let's plug this thing in and see if it does anything. Houston, we have a problem. It's got kind of the wrong plug on this. It's going to make it kind of difficult to plug this into an outlet here in North America. Of course, this is a European plug that's on here. I don't know if there's an adapter in here or not, or whether I'm going to have to make a makeshift one. As you can see, made in Norway. This unit does have a power amp built in, center channel, I guess for mono. It has channel 1 and channel 2 output into 4 ohms, so you can plug speakers in. I think it even has speakers in it. And it has the preamp outputs, and it has the inputs here and the level settings for the inputs. And we'll notice that it can operate 110, 125, 145, 200, 220, 245 volts AC. It says voltage set from underneath, and it's currently set to 110. 110, we're going to run it on 120. So that is going to provide a bit of an over voltage too. This is going to be vacuum tubes, obviously, so I'm going to change that setting to 125 because it's better to run it a little under voltage than a little over voltage. So the setup plate is on the bottom here. Of course, it's set just by, I guess we have to remove these screws on this. And then this can slide down like that, and I can just take the plug out and we just kind of pop it out like that, and turn it to the next one, and then plug the pin in there like that. Okay, now it's set for 125. I feel a little bit better. I mean, the thing's probably been run over voltage there for years, but I would rather not over voltage it, because when you're dealing with vacuum tubes and capacitors, that's just going to shorten their lifespan. So now I have to come up with a way to plug this in. I mean, ultimately we can hack this off and put a new plug on it. That's probably what's going to end up happening once I talk to the owner of it. He's just going to say, lop that off and put another plug on. But for the testing process, I'm just going to temporarily hook it up to my cheater cord. If you want to electrocute yourself, this is definitely the way to do it. Or that will have to do for now. And I think this is that might be the power button for the unit itself. Oh, good. Look at this. Internal speaker, channel 1 external, channel 2 internal, channel 2 external, channel 1 internal, internal speakers, internal plus external, and external. Okay, we have our controls for, oh, look at that. Cool, huh? Did you see that? I love the meters. They are vacuum tube. How cool is that? Love it. Playback amp. Oh, that's just for amplifier, and that's for playback. So if you flick them to that, you can use this as an amplifier. Plug your microphones in, get your sound out. You'll just use it as an amp. So there's playback, and this control here will control the motor. So it should be fast forward, which is not doing anything, rewind, which is not doing anything, play, which is not doing anything, and of course freewheel. So I don't see any movement here, but there may need to be a tape threaded onto here first. We'll just take this cover off the tape. There may be a sensor in here that detects if the tape is threaded or not. Or the motor might not be turning. We'll find that out in a minute. So there's the cover off the tape head assembly. Here's the capstan shaft. It's not turning. In fact, it's feels like it's completely seized up. That might be why it's not working. Okay, I guess we need to pull the top off this thing and look at it. I've never taken one of these ones apart, so we'll find out how they come apart. A couple screws to hold the knobs on here. I think this probably this top lifts off of it. All these knobs all appear to have a set screw to hold them in place, including the record playback switches down here. One here. And one more over here. Oh, don't tell me. Oh, I bet you there's a switch there. Shit. Let's just try this again. I just noticed that. Is that a switch that activates? Ah, damn! There's a switch here. Yep, the tape threads in behind this switch. Okay, well, we've got the top off it now anyway. Might as well take a look at it. Gotta like it. Look at that design. What a work of art this is. We'll thread up a tape on this with it apart and see whether I get anything, but there's the all the volume controls need cleaning anyway. Definitely. So I gotta do that. Anyway, I want to see if this thing works. Look at this! Look at this flywheel on this thing. This looks like it's made out of solid copper. That's copper. Unbelievable. We'll put this thing through its paces here. Now that I know how it works. So, fast forward, and that loosens off this. I guess it's a clutch over there. Yeah, just there's a clutch. So when you move the control, There's a clutch over here, you can see it, a little lever here moving, and that drops a clutch down here so that this table can rotate freely when it's running. If we do that, it releases both clutches from the motor. Right? So that one turns. Now if we go the other way, that one turns, and this one freewheels. And just by the nature of this, by just dropping these clutches, this is a really cool way this thing works, because there's no idlers other than this one that drives the capstan shaft. When you switch it back, it applies the clutch on both so that the tapes are both going to pull, tape reels are going to pull against each other, and that's going to stop it from turning. When you go into play, sounds like this bearing needs to be lubricated. Let's oil that bearing first before doing anything else. Probably wouldn't hurt to put some oil down into this bearing as well. So we'll do that. I don't think I'm going to take this all apart because I don't think it's going to be necessary on this one. But let's put some oil in here, and we'll put some oil down into this bearing here. And then we'll try this out and see if it will play. And I'll clean these, obviously clean these controls. So you notice that there's some felt around here. That's to prevent oil from leaking out. Keeps it into the bearing. And there's more felt along here. What that's for is if any excess oil runs out of the bearing, rather than the oil dripping onto the flywheel and just through centrifugal force being sprayed out onto all the other parts where you don't want it, this is to sop up any excess oil. So I'll put some oil down there. And we're going to do the same over on this one here. I'm just going to remove the clip. Of course, this unit belongs to one of my clients. It brings me all of his cool gear that he's got, like half-bar amplifiers and half-bar preamps and Ross amp and a couple number of turntables. And I just did a Sony. The last Sony reel-to-reel I just did was the same fellas. Oh, look at how dirty this is. Let's clean this up here. I'll just put some power to it so I can get the thing to spin, and then we'll clean this up because, well, as you can see, the pinch roller on this thing is just, or the capstan shaft is just filthy. Pinch roller looks to be it's pretty hard. It's pretty sad shape. This may need to be rebuilt, but I want to try this thing out and see whether it produces any sound. So I'm going to grab a test tape and we'll see if it plays anything back. See, that's how that works. You put the tape down between the guide, and then when you turn this to take up, it'll automatically tension because the take-up side is trying to pull, or the supply side is trying to pull against it. Okay, let's cross our fingers and see whether this thing actually plays anything.
Tick-tock, 6 o'clock, there's that old alarm against them.
Do you hear something wrong with that? I do.
Wishing I was sleeping in. Don't know how I do it, but somehow I do it every day. Just to say,
This unit is set up for 50 hertz. Whoever brought this unit over, because the motor is running too fast, whoever brought this unit over has not switched the speed down. There might be a pulley to adjust in here, but that's definitely going way too fast. Okay, like, what the hell is the good of making a unit that is multiple voltages if it's 50 cycles? It's not a dual frequency. So why it operates 110, 120, 120, 125, 145 volts, why they have the voltage that can be changed on this is beyond me, because I don't know of many countries in Europe that use 110 or 125 volts. I believe Europe is pretty much all 200 to 240. Not in North America. We're 60 hertz here, and this is a single speed unit. There is no speed settings on this. It is going to require a different pulley that's slightly smaller, because as this thing sits, it's not gonna run at anything but that speed, which is gonna be 10% fast. So I guess in the case of this one, as a hobby machine for someone who's gonna make their own recordings and they just want to record some vinyl onto a reel-to-reel just to have it, to play around with it, it's usable, because yeah, it'll be recorded. The tape will be moving too fast on record, but it'll play it back at the same speed, so it'll sound normal. But for playing any tapes made on a proper machine running at the proper speed, it's going to play fast on this machine, and there's not a whole lot that anyone can do about it, other than if you could find this pulley for a 60 hertz version, if they actually made a 60 hertz version of this machine. And based on the age of this machine, I would say that that's going to be a really tough one to try and find that. So I'm going to throw this machine back together and let the client know that yeah, it works. It just doesn't, pardon me, I have a cat staring at me. I have to let the client know that yeah, it works, but it's not working properly, and there's not much that anyone can do as far as correcting the speed, just because I mean it's going to be probably the pulley is what needs to be changed, because these AC motors themselves tend to, they're wound to run at the line frequency, so the motor itself isn't really the big thing that's changed, it's the pulley. All the other dual speed units that I have, my Akai example, for example, my Tascam or TIAC, you move the belt, it's a dual size pulley, move it from one pulley to the next. For those of you wanting to get a look under the hood, there's what the guts look like. Here's our motor, right? It's direct drive to that pulley. So the only way to change the speed on this is to change that pulley. Again, good luck. Probably have to have one specifically machined for the unit, and then you'd need to know the dimensions and so forth. EL84 tubes, this would be the output tubes here, left and right, preamp tubes underneath it here, and then there's there's 3 more tubes down here. These are going to be preamp and record oscillator, I would think. That's why they're shielded. Good quality Siemens German-made caps in here. It's funny because it's got, you know, it's got Mullard made in Great Britain tubes here, but the preamp tubes are German. Try to see what brand they are. I think they might be Telefunken. Tubes look in really good shape, like the getters and everything are nice and dark. There's no sign of any air leaking into them. Before I throw this together, I am going to clean the I'll clean the switches on it probably as well. The record play, where are they? They are. Okay, they're right in the middle. What are these ones? There's two more switches on this thing. Anyway, I'll give the oh, made in Sweden. This capacitor here, made in Sweden. This one right here. I'll give the controls a shot of cleaner. I love the Magic Eyes, M86 Magic Eyes on this there at the front here. That's the coolest part of the whole deck, is the Magic Eye, the vacuum tube record level indicators. That is cool. Okay, I guess I can put this chassis back together, put this unit together and send it out. These resistors here. Send it out. There's not much else I can do on this thing other than send it back to the owner, and maybe he'll find some other sucker to buy it. He bought it, I think, at an estate sale or somewhere, and you know, I mean, if it was a 60 hertz one, this would be a great find. But being a 50 hertz machine, to get this thing up and running properly, it's going to need this pulley. You have to find a pulley for it, a 60 hertz pulley, and or have one made. That's another option, but you'd need to know the dimensions of it. And this pinch roller is it's still got some grip left, but it certainly is not in the best of shape. It's deteriorated quite badly. Other than that, this belt probably could use replacement. That's the drive belt for fast forward and rewind and take up. It's not broken, but it's old, right? So it probably is due to be replaced. Anyway, let's get this thing together. Just like that. Only a Tandberg would the volume go from 0 to 6. Like, you know, normally a volume control goes like to 10. Not in this. It goes to 6. And that's it. Okay, let's power this thing back up and test it. Here's we put it to free. The freewheel when you're threading it up. Tape goes through the slot. That will force it in behind the auto stop lever.
Tick-tock, 6 o'clock, there's that old alarm again. Stand up, eyes shut, wishing I was asleep.
The pause works. Fast forward works. Rewind works, just slow to get there. So that's all there is for this one. Unfortunately, to say the speed, I can't do much about that because wrong size pulley. But I'm going to send it back and explain to the owner that there's not much I can do on that. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again in the next one real soon.